My name's Jessica. I'm 27. I had to actually think about that. And I'm from here. I'm from Annandale, Virginia. I've lived here my whole life. I'm autistic. It didn't get diagnosed until pretty late, actually. Roughly like my senior year in high school. There wasn't much like awareness for autism at that time, especially not in girls. It was pretty widely assumed that, only boys are autistic, or it's almost always boys, because they hadn't quite made the connection that boys and girls present differently. Girls are more conditioned or socialized to, behave and fit in. So you start watching other people without realizing any of this, obviously, but you start watching other people and just kind of mimicking what they do. Just these are the normal people, so if I do the normal things like the normal people, then I am also a normal people. I have had anxiety probably my entire life. Was it recognized as anxiety? No. But it's one of those things where you look back on it and it's like, wow, I was a ball of anxiety as a kid. I'm still a ball of anxiety. That hasn't changed. I didn't realize it myself until I was reading about a Tumblr post about people who worked with anxious kids and stuff, and they started listing off these symptoms of anxiety in children. And one of them was being like the really quiet child, just the one who's always hanging back and looking for approval from adults and stuff. And it's like, wow, that's me. And it makes sense because with the anxiety, you don't go out and do things because the anxiety tells you not to. And also, you can't screw something up if you don't do it, which is a very bad way of thinking. I have very deep-seated issues with failure. Sort of the terrible mental connection is if it's something I did not do perfectly on the first try ever, it's a failure. Is that valid? No. Does my brain think it is? Yes. I was diagnosed with depression in my sophomore year of high school, and it was that was like probably the most classic stereotypical anything I've ever experienced, because I went from doing okay in school to literally sleeping through every class and just not caring about anything at all, not eating, not caring about eating, not caring about school, wasn't playing video games, which is my lifeline. And I started seeing a therapist, started working with her in sophomore year of high school, and she helped me with that and got me on medication. And that made a pretty drastic improvement, actually. I went from my grades in that year, like the first two quarters, I was getting like, B's and C's, average. The third quarter, I got like straight F's because I was asleep for everything. And then in the fourth quarter, which is when I started on treatment and getting better, I got like straight A's and a D, because you can only recover so much when you sleep through a whole semester or a whole quarter of a foreign language. But it was pretty interesting because one of my teachers actually, and I didn't know this until later, but one of my teachers actually commented to my parents that they really didn't think there was anything wrong and I just needed to apply myself more. And they were forced to retract that statement when they saw the drastic improvement in both my mental health and my grades just over the course of one quarter. And they're like, never mind, there was a problem here. Because I know with a lot of teenagers, depression and anxiety and stuff, that get brushed off as, it's just, you're just a moody teenager. You'll grow out of it. It's fine. And is it fine? Maybe. But do you really want to take that chance? I wouldn't. The autism diagnosis was weird, actually. I underwent testing in like third grade for what I assume now are developmental disabilities. And they came back with, it's probably ADHD, maybe get retested in a few years for Asperger's. And I got retested a few years later. I want to say 8th grade. And I have absolutely no idea what happened with that testing, because I think everyone involved, dropped the ball completely, because I finally got a chance to read the report from that testing when I was like 24. And it says in like plain as day, autism, here are all these things that you can do to help, here are things that need to be done. Never got mentioned to my parents, never got mentioned to my parents, don't remember ever hearing about it. I really don't think it's like willful ignorance on their part. I really think that it just woof right over everyone's heads. So the paperwork says I was diagnosed in like 8th grade, but we didn't like know it until my senior year in high school, which was actually a funny story. I basically diagnosed myself. I do that a lot. I spent most of the time in my senior year, I spent most of the lunch hour in the library because I liked reading, and also it was quiet in there, and the lunchroom was noisy and smelled bad and was annoying. Which, surprise, that's autism, that's sensory processing. But, so, and looking back on it now, obviously one of my special interests is medicine, medical stuff, so I would just park myself in the medical section and just grab any book that looked interesting and just start reading it. And I was working my way through a little section of books on, like, childhood, like, disorders, stuff like Down syndrome and Down syndrome and other, like, congenital thingers, and I picked one down that said Asperger's, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, wait. This book is about me. Why is this book about me? I'm checking it out. I'm bringing this to my therapist. So I did, and I brought it to my therapist, and she's like, wow, this book is you. And then I took it to my neurologist at the time, and he's like, oops. Mm-hmm. Like, I got it confirmed and everything, but it was very interesting reading a book and just, like, every single one of these is me. Just, dislikes change, likes routine, doesn't make eye contact with talking, special interests that are bordering on an obsession, just difficulty with recognizing names and faces, sensory processing issues, sensitivity to sound, light, smell, whatever. And I'm like, check. Okay, this is interesting. Because, for the whole time I've been in, I'm just the weird kid. I'm the weird kid that gets picked on because I'm the weird kid. And it's nice to know, okay, so that's why I'm the weird kid. Probably, I think it would have been nice to know that just, hey, I'm not just weird, I'm not just doing these things, whatever these things are, I'm not just doing it because I feel like I feel like causing problems on purpose. That's not how my brain was working, but just a lot of people seem to run on the assumption that I basically woke up one day and just, I think I will cause trouble today, because I can. I think that happened a lot with my parents. Still kind of does a little, but not as much now that they're getting more informed on this. I have been seeing the same therapist since that sophomore year. She's just drastically been changing what she works with me on, because it was primarily the anxiety, it was primarily the depression, and then it's just been moving to working with both the autism and the anxiety, and various other just things that crop up that I need help with. We had several sessions around my 26th birthday when it came to getting booted off my parents' health insurance, and oh god, now I have to find all these doctors, and oh god, what is the marketplace? Oh god, what is health insurance? I don't know how normal people do it. I didn't handle it well. It worked out in the end, but we had several sessions on working our way through that. I do like that she listens to me about working through the things that are, like, really bothering me, but she also is kind of a, you might need to edit this one out, she's kind of a take no shit person, so if I'm, in one of my anxiety spirals about how I'm worthless and I can't do this or whatever, she will just be like, no, you are not, we've been over this more than once, and, help kind of pull through it, just like, I know you can do this because you've done it before. Like, when I first started seeing her, like, there was no way in hell I would actually be even thinking about driving a car ever. ever. Like, I think I had a full breakdown the first time she had me just sit behind the wheel of a parked car. And now I've got my license, and I drive, and I don't like it, but I'll do it. She worked with me on that for quite some time. I didn't get my license until I was like 21. I probably would have benefited from much earlier anxiety intervention, but, you know, I can't dunk on my parents for this. It's not their fault. It's not like they knew and were like, I'm not going to get her help because she's fine. No, they didn't know. You know, just have a more wider acceptance and education of both developmental disabilities and mental health issues, and also both of them together. Because there's a lot of one, there's a lot of the other, and there's probably a substantial overlap of both. I'm a both.